Hey folks, Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. Listen, we've been talking about this for quite some time, and if you haven't done so yet, you need to get out and make the preparations for you and your family, because when everything goes hot, you're not going to be able to get your hands on this stuff. MonkeyWorksPrep.com has a deal going. If you buy this 3-month kit that they have, you get actually $200 worth of free gear along with it. And for every kit that you buy, 3-month kit, you get an additional $200 worth of free gear. That is free 90 free. You can't beat it. And you will probably need it. That's monkeyworksprep.com. This offer will not last forever, so get in there and get it while it is hot. That's it, monkeyworksprep.com. You guys be safe out there. God bless. Monkey out. All right, hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. This is going to be your SITREP, and it is about 11 a.m. Central Time, coming to you from the great state of Texas, and it is March 22nd, 2023. And man, the world is changing rapidly. It's so hard to keep up with this. We've got a lot of ground to cover today, between connecting the dots with the news stories to just looking at the sky in general and all the movements that are going on. So let's get into it right now. We're going to jump over here to the Mini-Me board, and we're going to start off in sky glass as always. And sitting at around 302 right now, current mil aircraft up. Now I'm going to take that number. We're going to subtract the trainers, which is about 60. So we've got about 80 trainers up right now. So that kind of thinned the herd a little bit. Now, there is one thing I did want to point out I thought was interesting. As we get into, we've got 34 tankers up right now, which is a pretty high number. But that's not the only ones. We're going to also look closer. We've got a 3-ship down here in the corner. And ADSB is going to show us a little closer here in a second. Now, I'm only picking up 2 in sky glass. And then the third, if we get over here to ADSB Exchange, you can see this little 3-ship has, looks like it just made a hard right. But there were 3 of them, and they were tight formation. Now I'm just showing 1. It's interesting how those things just disappear on us. But that's your border right here. So they flew right up to the border and then took a hard right. Again, this is a 3-ship, and it is not reflecting that right now, but it really is a 3-ship. Trust me, folks. Okay, so all right, let's get out of ADSB Exchange, and let's actually get back over here to Sky Glass, and then we'll start looking at all the other pertinent data that's out there, like our watch list, for example. So speaking of that, let's get into it. So we've got our usual suspects on the border. That is going to be Texas DOT. And we've got some news to cover on the border, too. And then we've got a priority air transport coming out of Southern California. And then it looks like a Homeland Security or nuclear security helo up there to the left. And then we've got a SAM coming out of Colorado, which is a blue and white G5. It's a high-dollar aircraft. And then we get down here to Florida. It's actually pretty light for a watch list until you get over to Europe. Then it gets really busy. I got a couple NOAA flights. That one right there is a Mil Intel balloon. I have a hard time believing it's at 17,000 feet. The others are at 70, 80, 90,000 feet as they collect data on you. But, you know, let's just benefit of the doubt. We'll say it's there. All right. Now, notice here, the E3 Sentries seem to be doing some data collection. Notice all the tight circles, right? Over Europe, that's over France, most of those. This one over the North Sea, which, you know, if you've got a cell phone on a ship, maybe you want to grab that data. That would be how to do it. And then this little G4. Now that's one, and we're going to look at those closer. Of course, we got our normal suspects running up and down the border lines, looking at the Russian stuff. And then a B-52 currently over Greece. We're going to look at those closer too. And then an Italian Q4, Magma 10. Don't see that very often. Matter of fact, it's the first Italian Q4 I think I've caught yet. So, okay, let's get into the heavies, and then we'll get into the details. So, so this is going to be over the U.S. Just notice we've got a little flurry of things going out of MacDill Air Force Base and Tampa. Those are mainly C-130s. We've seen a surge of those on a pretty frequent basis over the last several sit reps. And then we've got that one headed down to the port area in, that looks to be Georgia. Could be South Carolina. It's hard to tell from my TV and the size of it from here. So, but let's see. We're going to get over to Europe and take a look. So either way, it's headed to a port town. Whether it's I don't think Savannah's that far south, so that could be Charleston. Yeah, we're moving a lot of equipment via boat, via aircraft, and we're going to look at that closer during the SITREP as well. And this is Europe. Just take a look. Those lighter colors are going to be C-17s, and then the other yellow-looking color will be either A400s or C-130s. But just notice, very, very active going from ports to across the UK, and then all the way up into Denmark and Finland. And looks like we've got some stuff being dropped off right up close to the border in Poland. Of course, we got Sweden down in Spain. And a lot of stuff headed down into the Malta region, that toe of Italy. And then we get down here also just north of Tripoli, which is going to be Turkey, by the way. And then, of course, look at the flurry of stuff rolling in and out between Jordan and then you get into the Middle East, which is kind of crazy. A lot of stuff going in and out today. So we've got a mix too. You've got UAE in there. We've got the US. That's the Moose call sign there, running in and out of the area. But very, very active for that region. It hasn't been that active in terms of heavy lifts in quite some time. So, all right. Then we get over here, the refuelers. Just notice that you've got a lot of activity going over the Baltic Sea. We're going to touch on that with our first article here. Some B-52s. Looks like we got maybe some refueling for 52s, but maybe even some fighters up over that region as well. And then this one, it looks like we're doing some refueling up over Finland. That could have been the B-52 as well. We'll look at the B-52 here in just a couple minutes as we get into our data. Then we get over to the United States. But again, the air refueling over Europe, over the Baltic regions are definitely on the uptick today. And then this, again, down to the southern border. What is going on down there that we would need fighters or anything? I'm not seeing any other type of aircraft out getting gas down by the border. So it'd have to be fighters, be my guess. And then we get here over the kind of the middle of the United States. Just a flurry of activity. And let's see, we go up here to the northeast, and it is very, very active and busy. Notice the activity out over the water. And then we get down here to Florida, activity over Tampa. Okay. Now, let's talk B-52s for a minute. And I'm not talking about the group B-52s, although they were pretty awesome. But this is the B-52s that were up over the last 3 days. Just notice that this one ran right up to Estonia, right along that border. St. Petersburg is right there. That's going to be Russia, and that's the Russian border. And that would be why they probably scrambled fighters out. But just pay attention. You know, B-52s, they like to do a little bit of loop and flying around in circles. I don't know why. We used to do that all the time, and I never really got it. But burning fuel, I guess. But that's important because we looked at the B-52s. Now, check this out. It says there was a dramatic moment where Russian fighter jets intercept 2 U.S. nuclear bombs over the Baltic Sea. So we just looked at those flying out over the Baltic area, and they were greeted by some Su-45s. And there's the photo from one of the Russian birds, I guess, took that claim to have intercepted. So anyway, this is how things will go hot. Somebody will fly a little too close to the border. You'll get some, fighter intercepts, and then all of a sudden the U.S. fighters engage, and somebody just decides to, go hot. That's exactly how these things start. So again, or they shoot down a drone, right? Either way, this is pretty interesting, and looks like that, we just keep pushing closer and closer to this event taking place. All right. Next, R-135s. Again, these are your intelligence gathering. Just notice, I'm going to point out as I get up here, I'm just going to pause this for a second because the R-135s have significantly decreased in their movement around the Black Sea, around the border areas. And this one is actually over the Persian Gulf. But if I go back and look over the last 5 days, they have paused kind of all of their intelligence gathering. And I think it's because they're starting to get a lot of heat. You fly, the Chinese are greeting them when they fly out over there. So are the Russians. And we got this one. You can't really see it landing, but it actually took off and it landed on one of the little islands there to the west of Italy. Okay. So now R-135s over the United States. If you take a look at this, again, little stuff there over like Tyler general area. Yeah, it looks like a calibration. And then we've got some work going on up in North Dakota and then out over Cheyenne, Wyoming, that kind of area. All right. And we're going to get over to Japan, but really light. This stuff here, I think is just, it's nothing to really focus on here in the United States. That's not the stuff that's going to get us into war, right? All right. And then this is going to be the activity taking off, flying out of Okinawa, it looks like, and just popping up and popping back down. Now, it could have had a longer stream. We just don't see it in terms of the trace. But that is that's where we are with the R-135s. Again, super light. Now we get over to the intelligence aircraft. We've got a little activity there to the south end of the Philippines. And then we're going to bounce out of there and get over to Europe and take a quick look. Now, this is probably Brio 66 and a couple of other aircraft. But again, Bucharest, Hungary, a lot more activity. And then this one to the south of Kaliningrad, and then out, just running right up along Constanta to the left side of the Black Sea. All right. And then we get over here to Konus. And it looks like from the Konus perspective, we've got, just the regular stuff right there to the north end by Winnipeg. That's going to be the -8, the Canadian -8. Got some activity over Vegas, a little bit over south of Tucson, and then our regular movers hopping around, okay? All right, now we'll go look at the drones. Actually, let me look at Panama real fast. That looks like, yeah, we're continuing to see some activity down over Panama. So, okay, let's get to the drone activity. And these are going to be Q9s over the U.S. that we're looking at today. More than likely. There's one right down to the southern border, one over Los Angeles area, just in the general region. And then that one to the south side of Winnipeg. There's something going on at the border there by Winnipeg. It's got our attention and Canada's attention. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely something going on there. Okay, they're watching way too close for there to be just nothing happening. So, all right, then we've got one drone that popped up, and I don't know who this belongs to. Probably U.S., if I had to guess. I don't know from our angle. It looks like it popped out over the Black Sea to the southern side near Turkey. Didn't go far. And other than that, it has been very, very quiet from a reconnaissance perspective over the last 3 days. All right, so let's get back over to our main board. We talked about the bombers. Let's talk real fast. We're going to look at the rail surveys before we get really deep into all of this, just because it continues to take shape. All right. And so this is the latest and greatest since Monday. Just notice that we've got the same activity there over in Illinois, and then we've got it up kind of to the northern end towards Toledo in Ohio, West Virginia, and then over kind of around the DC metro area. We've got a lot of survey activity going on. I really do think this is going to be tied to we're going to cover here in a few minutes relative to Trump. Okay. All right. So let's get into that. So we talked B-52s. Now we're going to get over to Flashbang and what he is up to today. Looks like a whole lot of nothing. Putting his pants on. And that's subjective. I don't really know if he even wears pants in the White House, but he is doing it around 9 a.m., wrapping up about 5 p.m., or I say wrapping up, but looks like they are headed over to some type of reception, celebration of Women's History Month. The big question is, how many dudes are going to be wearing dresses? Because that'll happen. All right. So that's going to be your current administration. And let's get into all of our Bohica moments as we start talking about what's happening. So we expected yesterday for Trump to be arrested. It looks like that is still coming. It just didn't happen yesterday. Just, again, be diligent, pay close attention to the news and what's going on, and make wise decisions, okay? Trump indictment likely today. That's Wednesday. And then the arraignment will be next week. They're saying that they are expecting him to basically surrender himself up in New York, all right? So I will tell you, looking at the flights, he did not go anywhere yesterday. So that he stayed. He's still down in Florida, to my knowledge, all right, based on the flight traffic. So anyway, it'll be really interesting to see how this goes down once they have now set a kind of a hard date if he turns himself in. It does say that he will be handcuffed and fingerprinted, which is unprecedented. And this right here is slippery slope stuff, folks, because, this will probably knock him out of the presidential race for 2024 and could very well set off a whole series of events. So, okay, let's move on as we talk about this fantastic economy that we're experiencing. Amazon deepens the tech sector gloom with another 9,000 layoffs. This continues to take place. You may remember in Q4 of last year, they were shutting down warehouse space, laying off a ton of employees, and that was before the peak of the season. Now, I will also tell you that I'm hearing through several sources that the Prime flights, Amazon Prime flights, the aircraft that they fly, has been reduced significantly coming out of China, that they just don't have, the capacity or the need to continue on to gather stuff out of China at the rate they used to, I guess. That's probably the better way to do it. So capacity probably wasn't the right word, but all right. Now, here's the other one, too, that is another key indicator. This report basically says there was a record drop for U.S. container imports in February. And notice that these are end over end. They just keep continuing to decline, whether it's port-specific like Long Beach or whether it's just the overall picture in general. This is what, we're looking at the lack of flow coming to the United States, and this is an indicator that there is indeed a lack of flow, okay? Now, this one, I think we got to pay really close attention to because it's a date setter for an event. It says here that the Federal Reserve on Wednesday announced that in July they will launch its FedNow service, which will enable all U.S. banks to offer instant payments 24/7 and will constitute the infrastructure of a central bank digital currency by linking each bank node directly to the Federal Reserve. Now, this is important because as they made this announcement, it's just that one step closer. I think we could have a potential, and maybe they're setting this up for a reason, potential bank run before then. So just pay close attention to it, all right? There's two things I think that will get people out on the streets. Well, there's really three, but two of them. One is you start closing the banks and taking people's money. That right there will probably be more of an upheaval than an arrest of Trump, and I think even that one is going to be a doozy. So pay close attention to those. Those are big-time data points for you, okay? Now, this one here I thought was interesting. It just shows you how disconnected our leadership is, okay? This one, Holly, which is one of her representatives. Do we really have representation? I maybe not. Okay. But anyway, he's introducing legislation revoking China's normal trade relationship status with the United States. The reality is this is probably, remember, we have talked about the fact that China has not been shipping stuff to us for quite some time. So the trade imbalance is significant and has been at least for 12, maybe 14 months. And that the fact that this guy is putting, some type of legislation in play just shows you how he is not aware of the reality of what's been going on already. This is a big nothing. And so, again, just out of touch, out of touch. All right. Okay. Now here's one. Just start to kind of pay attention to the things that are happening around the world in terms of intelligence gathering and sharing, right? We can go back to look at Five Eyes, which is, a conglomerate of countries, including the United States, Canada, UK, where they, and I think Australia and New Zealand, but they basically have the ability to look at other citizens of another country, and that's how they get around spying on people, right? And so they share this data back and forth, and this is just another one. This is actually India. This is not even the Five Eyes piece, but it says that basically the U.S. gave India intel during a clash with Chinese troops. That's up in the Himalayas. That's on a border region that is heavily disputed right now. You may remember this is the area where they were actually throwing rocks and sticks at each other. They were going like really old school. So anyway, that's just, like I said, we watch it every single SITREP, the amount of intelligence that is being gathered. Just keep in mind, if we're doing it to other countries, you can bet your bottom dollar those military intel balloons that are overhead 24/7 are capturing every single thing that we do. Every movement, every transaction, everything. Okay. All right. Here's your Bohica moment. It says new U.S. military aid for Ukraine worth $350 million includes fuel tankers, patrol boats, and missiles. And this one, Flashbang just signed. He authorized another new $350 million round of military aid for Ukraine. Yeah. I'm really getting sick and tired of them spending our money for a war that we're not even engaged in, nor should we be engaged in. Okay. All right. I don't know if you guys saw this yesterday, but this one actually popped in on the news cycle. And it says South Texas is starting to see a surge of Chinese migrants crossing the border illegally. Remember, we have a tremendous amount of escapes. But yesterday, they had just a ton of folks show up. It says the agents have encountered Chinese nationals over 1,667 times. That is not 1,667 people. That is 1,667 times. And so this is, I find interesting. This includes 90 Chinese nationalists who were apprehended Thursday. So there was 90 of them yesterday. And it's the most encountered since 2010 in a single day. Very interesting. All right. Looks like there's some updated stuff. You can see quite, here you go. A 920% increase in Chinese nationals have been encountered at our southern border. So, all right, let's move on. Okay, Z. This headline will get your attention because you know where we're headed with all of this, right? Great Reset, New World Order, the Fourth Kingdom, right? All of these things, Fourth Industrial Revolution, as they say. Okay, China will stand guard over the world order. That is just a data point for you, but, well, let's just move on. All right, Slovakia is getting U.S. helicopter offer after sending jets to Ukraine. Yeah, we knew there had to be something behind that. So Slovakia is sending over a bunch of Soviet-era MiG-29s to the Ukrainians because that's really all they know how to fly, okay? But in return, they're getting 12 new AH-1Z Viper helicopters at a 2/3 discount. So we knew there had to be something happening with this this whole deal. So, all right. And we move on. Now, it says here, and this is where all of our data starts to come together. U.S. speeds up Abrams tank delivery to Ukraine war zone. We've already seen it happening, right? With the large, when we start tracking those 747-400s, those mostly are not moving troops. They're moving equipment, i.e. tanks, HIMARS, all the other stuff going over there. And so they're saying this is going to be set up for just basically bringing it in by the fall. However, I will tell you everything that I'm reading, they're saying because we're getting into the spring that they expect Russia to step up their effort. This is getting ready to go super hot. the interesting data point will be when the U.S. gets engaged. Just watching it, my opinion is we probably will be fully engaged in this in about 6 months, just going on all of the news cycles. I think there is definitely something on the horizon based on just the movement of goods to all of these areas and the particulars of the goods that are being moved. When you start engaging fighters and tanks, you are really starting to change this battle significantly. Because right now, it's within a certain area, like to the left, we get over to the Ukraine side. Just take a look at the map here for a second as we get into this. But when you get to the area that's over my head with all of the red dots, and that's artillery, tanks, etc. When you start looking at the blue disc, that is Russia basically popping shots off into the interior of Ukraine, and it's benign. It really, typically they're not hitting anything. It's just scaring people, right? People are taking cover because something is coming inbound, and then you get into the drone strikes and things like that. So they do on occasion hit buildings. You can see the one in the dead center with the yellow ring around it. That is a barracks or something that got hit close to Kiev, actually, not far away from there. So again, this is kind of the face of the war right now. But as things start to go, uptick in the spring and things start to go a little hotter than usual, I think that's when you're going to start to see all of the tanks and fighters and stuff start to get engaged. And it won't be long after that before the United States is fully in on this one, okay? All right. Now, another step in that same direction, the U.S. inaugurates first permanent Army base in Poland. And as we get over here to the news cycle piece of it, let's just take a look. I'm going to show you where this location is. Actually, we're going to talk. Let me pull up this. Okay. This will give you, as we look into the map, all right, this is general idea. RZE is one of the base locations that we are not permanent, but we are pumping a ton of people in. Now, you get over to the other one they're talking about. That's more over here, and I think it's called POZ. I think is the call sign for the base, but it is more over in this side of Poland to the left, or the west side of Warsaw. Okay, so it's a little more interior of Poland, but this is kind of the other location that we're talking about here. Okay, so let me get back over here. But they're saying, this is what I do find interesting. They're saying right now that the U.S. has 10,000 soldiers just stationed in Poland alone. I think the number is a lot higher than that. I think this is the key takeaway from that is more than 10,000, which could be anything. Based on the numbers that we're seeing from the troop movements, I'd say that number is probably 5x that in Poland. So, okay, let's move over here. Now, we were talking a little bit about this. I call it a surf skag. It's this new technology that we're starting to see enter the platform. We've caught them down in Australia. This is an aircraft. It's an E7, I think is what they're calling it. But it's an aircraft that Australia flies pretty regularly. We see it down there. The U.S. is starting to get into this market, but it's important because it's a new airframe. It's going to replace the AWACS. That's the one that's got the disc on the top that we constantly track, that can do man in the middle and all this stuff. The difference between the two is that if you're looking at the AWACS, note that when that thing does a complete circuit around, it's just like a regular radar disc, right? It lights up an object, and as it comes back around, you got to wait about 8 seconds, and then it lights up that object again. And they track a multitude of aircraft and stuff in the sky. But their capabilities when it comes to the ground stuff, yeah, we know man in the middle. We know that they can track some other stuff that is in the arena. But this one is fixed in terms of it will basically, you can lock onto something and track it. But you also, it just gives you a real-time snapshot and doesn't have that rotation as slow as 8 seconds going around, okay? Now, the other piece to this, if we zoom in on this particular, I think that zoomed in, made it a little bigger so it stands out. It's engaged. It's a joint force multiplier. It engages in air defense, unmanned aerial vehicles, so like all your drones. It can track all of that stuff. It also tracks land forces, things that are going on in terms of missile defense in the theater, ships, maritime stuff, right? So it is not only tracking aircraft that's in the air and in the sky, but it's tracking ships that are down in the water, land-based objects. So pretty much everything. Helicopter from an aviation perspective, not just your regular, air defense stuff like fighters and everything else. And then air-to-air refueling. So it's tracking everything in the air, everything on the ground, everything in the water. Okay. And then it gives you, I guess it works off a wideband global SATCOM, I guess is the way this thing operates. But anyway, this is a write-up over on the drive. It's really fascinating. If you look inside the aircraft, to show you what it looks like inside there, right? You can see everybody lined up on their little consoles doing all the tracking. And that's the cockpit. Of course, it's all, what they call a glass cockpit. That's all of this super high-end electronic suite there. Different configuration, the way they're seated. You can sit them in these kind of almost like a cubicle type environment versus the back-to-back piece. This is probably the more favorable one. Just notice this is Turkey that's flying this one, okay? And that's what it looks like. It's kind of an interesting aircraft. Like I said, it is changing the way we look at everything in the battlefield side of the house. So, and that's your old AWACS, right, with the little dome on the top that spins. So really old platform, been around for quite some time. And so this is what is going to be replacing it. So there's your little air refueling door there on the top. So very cool. And it's a 737 platform, which is the same thing as the P-8 Poseidon sub-hunter that we look at. So, all right, now we get back to the war footing side of the house. UK to send Ukraine ammunition with depleted uranium. This is important because that is a game changer. When you start talking about ammunition that has depleted uranium, you're talking about armor penetrating stuff, okay? It is super hard. It does have a radioactive element to it, but it will pierce all kinds of stuff. And depending how big the ammo that they're sending, you start talking about tank rounds, this thing's just going to shred stuff. So, that's kind of a game changer when you start talking about adding that. All right. And then here is Putin's reaction to it, which is Russia will react. And he just, react is in quotations there if the UK supplies uranium ammo to Kiev. So he's going to react. It's coming. I mean, there ain't no doubt about it. We say it, we're already probably doing it. So, okay. And then here we go. Germany to send a half a battalion of tanks to Ukraine. Everybody just keeps upping the ante. Now, remember, Germany and the UK, the two that we just covered, are also two that have said, one, we are too small to fight this battle. That's the UK coming from their parliament. And two, Germany saying, we have depleted everything we've got and we can't send anymore and still continue to fight this war if it goes beyond the Ukraine, Russia only aspect. So if NATO gets engaged, they're going to be up a creek without a paddle, so to speak, because they've given everything to Ukraine. So, all right. And the U.S. ain't far from that either. Okay. Now, this one, I've got to go get with my source on this because I don't know if this is accurate. If it is, this seems like it's just an aggregate. I don't see the stuff on the screen to indicate that number is well, maybe I do. But this is astronomically high. 155 million attacks on this day. I don't know if they started measuring some other elements. If it's indeed that high, we are 10x what we normally see, around 18 million. So again, I need to reach out to my source and find out if this is real data, if they flipped a switch onto something, or if this is just an aggregate gathering, because that is exponentially high. Yesterday it was at 137. Today it's at 155. It seems like it is just doing an aggregate catch over time. So, all right, Bitdefender, as always, our little red lines went away, but notice the pops going off. Oh, there they come back again. Yeah, it's this too is actually really, really high. I find it interesting that the fact that we started having the bank issues, and all of a sudden we see a significant uptick with the cyber aspect of this. So pay close attention to it. Again, this is it's just an interesting data point for you because this is how I think they'll knock our stuff offline in terms of whether it's power, internet, whatever it may be. Okay, over to the ForeFlight. This is going to be your NOTAMs. First off, we've got a hot mess coming across the United States. This is pretty high turbulent stuff. If we look at that, let's take out the turbulence from a global perspective, and let's just get into the meat of what we have on here. And it looks like a lot of activity off the East Coast. Notice the boxes kind of intersect here between Norfolk. I was told I was mispronouncing it all this time, so hopefully I got it right that time. But and then coming out of Cape Canaveral, all right. And then off of the West Coast up here, these seem to be there on a regular basis. They're danger boxes, etc. And then it looks like we've got some mill activity exercises going on here out to the west of Salt Lake City. And then it's actually a little bit of an uptick for the spring here domestically. And then let me back up and see. It looks like Russia's going to be doing some missile launch activity here. Don't know what this is off of... let's see here. Due to aircraft maneuvering, the following area is NOTAMed, times indicated, but it doesn't give us, I'm not seeing anything indicating why it is on that. So, and we get over to this side, it looks like Asian Pacific, very active off of Okinawa and off of the northern side of Japan, and then South Korea, still going hot. And then this is going to give you a look at to Europe. You just notice that it is almost completely covered. There's just a lot of stuff going on between down here off of the coast of Israel and Turkey. We get out off of Italy, very, very active. Switzerland, Austria, Germany, all seem to have activities going on right now. So, all right, now let's get into the base activity and the meat of all of this. Kicking off here, it looks like I don't really see anything catching my eye relative to Biggs Army Airfield today. Okay, so we'll move on. And this is going to be McGuire Joint Base. That's a Lakehurst. And let's see if we've got anything. We got a Reach rolling in. Don't know what Tilly 56 is. Those are priority air transports coming inbound. Southwest Airline coming out of Pope Army Airfield. That's Fayetteville, North Carolina. So those could be some troops transitioning for exfil. Looks like from there, they're headed to Baltimore, Washington. More than likely, they'll jump onto a larger freighter outbound. Like a Reach leaving the theater there. And then we've got a UPS flight, 747-800. That's a doozy. Brand spanking new, very nice aircraft coming out of Louisville, Kentucky, and going back. So that's home base operations for UPS. But they're transporting something. And where are they headed to? Cologne. All right. So, yeah, they're picking up something here, and they're moving it across the drink. So looks like UPS is getting in on the big movement. And this is how they're going to expedite getting all of the tanks over there quickly. Okay. All right. This is going to be Dover Air Force Base. Let's see what we've got. Anything? We've got a Coletta coming in from Chicago. That's going to be your main one. And Atlas Air inbound from Miami. And then it looks like that one Coletta looks to be transitioning over to a camber flight as it heads over to RZE, Poland. That's probably tanks. Okay. Although it could be troops. Again, this camber designator, most of the time it is troops. When you start talking 747-400, it is a lot of troops, but they typically are going to be moving some major equipment, and could be artillery, could be anything, right? Big, big stuff. And again, that's a 747-400, and it will, you can flip the nose up on that thing, and you can load all kinds of stuff in there. So, all right, looks like NASA is back up and at it there, up in Fairbanks, Alaska, up at the Air Force Base. And we do have, oh, look at this. Coming inbound, this is another Atlas Air coming from Miami. Well, that's a heck of a haul up to that location. Don't know where it's going from there, but we'll keep our eye on it. And then let's get over, this is actually going to be Ramstein. Notice you got a camber flight coming inbound from Cairo. That's probably Alexandria. Get down, another camber flight coming from Doha. We've got a spar flight rolling in from Terceira Island. That's a gas stop right here, by the way. Atlas Air coming out of Baltimore, and 747-400. And that's probably not troops. That's going to be moving equipment. Again, this is how they're getting those tanks over early, okay? And then from there, it turns into a camber flight, 47400. Another one, 767-300 camber flight. That's definitely troops, just based on the aircraft size. And then another one coming out of Kuwait, or sorry, headed to Kuwait. And this one's actually headed back down to Cairo. So it looks like there's a troop replen going on there, or rotation maybe. Okay. So 3 camber flights rolling out of Ramstein. Let's get over to this side of it. This is RZE. Again, this is that base that is down closer to, this is Ukraine right here. All right. So this is pretty doggone close. That would be a forward operating base, and in Poland. And just notice camber flight, camber flight, camber flight. Let's get on down, camber flight. So that's, yeah, that's a lot of camber flights coming from all over the place. Nuremberg, Dover, Anchorage, Alaska. That's a flight right there. And then you've got this one down here, another one from Anchorage. Wow. That's a long flight. And then here's a national cargo rolling into from Orlando. That's base operation, but it's a 747-400. And then outbound wise, let's see what we've got. There's one of your Coletta Airs leaving, destination unknown. Let's see, make sure I don't miss anything here. Okay, not seeing it. So very, very active at the forward operating base in Poland. Okay, and then this takes a closer look at the Atlas Air stuff. This one is probably the one that's rolling into that forward operating base. Well, no, you know what? That would be too far north unless that's, let's see, this is Ukraine. This is Poland right here. Sorry, too far south, but these are going to be your 2 latest locations coming out from the Atlas Air guys, and one coming out of Spain. I don't know where that one's headed, but okay, now we'll move on. Let's get over here to the Coletta Airs, see what we've got going on in Europe. So it looks like this one down here in Bahrain, as James Cadiz pronounces it. And then we've got this one, RZE. So, and Brussels. Pretty active. And then let's get over here to this side of it. A lot of stuff moving in and out of Anchorage. Headed down here to, looks like Seoul, South Korea. All right, we'll back this one up. Yeah, that's the Black Sea right there. National cargo. Very interesting. Looks like to be taken off. Let me get down here and see where that is rolling out of. Madrid. Okay, so it came out of Madrid, but we're just picking it up right here. But again, that's your Black Sea. This is Turkey. And that's, boy, I don't know where that one's headed, but definitely in some interesting airspace there, if you know what I'm saying. All right. Away from national cargo. And keep in mind, NCR does carry troops. A lot of them. So, all right. Now, this is Western Global. Interesting. Interesting. Coming out of Central America, headed northbound. Looks to be headed up here to Reichenbacker. That's going to be Columbus, Ohio, from Central America. MD-11. Who knows what that could be carrying? Ain't no telling. All right, here's your camber flights. Ramstein, Osan, and Alexandria. That's that one's going to be the one. Actually, let's just get a closer look here. I started to say Alexandria. That's not Alexandria, but anyway, coming out of Ramstein. Yeah, that's the Black Sea right here. So, man, we got a lot of camber flights in and out of the region here of Europe. Right, let's move on over. to the United States. This is going to be your CNV. It's going to be your Navy logistics, small aircraft stuff. So they're not moving big, giant hunks and chunks, but they're moving enough stuff. This is their logistics system, so to speak. Looks to be all over the United States. Okay, interior-wise, just domestic moves currently. Then we get over here to Omni. We've got Shannon. So that's going to be troops. And it looks like March Air Force Base to Hunter Air Force Base. Hunter Army Airfield in Savannah, Georgia. 777-200, that's definitely going to be troop-related domestically. And then over here to the UK Royal Air Force Transport, Ascot. Yeah, I mean, look at this. We've got a lot of stuff that's headed into Cyprus, and then a lot of things going on here into Europe. That's a Warsaw move right there. It's a little F900. That's probably got some UK dignitaries on board. Fuel stop out here, and then that one's coming back. So it looks like that's the one that hit Terceira Island and going to Nantucket, it looks like, from there. So there it is, Terceira, rolling to Cherry Point. Okay. Sorry, not Nantucket. Okay, I did not, tried to sound that one out in KT, but that's really Cherry Point. So troop related, all right. Okay, so that I think covers everything we were looking at today. Again, I think just given the movement, the fact that we are escalating the process relative to tanks entering the battlefield, we're pushing out a lot more, a lot faster. Tells me that they think the timeline on this thing popping off is going to be coming to the left and not to the right. And we're just seeing a ton of movement, a lot of troop movements, a lot of people still putting a lot of equipment into the battle arena. So we'll just continue to keep our eye on it. The other piece of this too is from the U.S. domestic standpoint, notice that it appears that our economy is certainly slowing down. We see early indicators of that because our ports are starting to kind of empty out. We're seeing record lows coming in and out of our port system. And then, of course, you've got the indicators of layoffs. Amazon laying off folks again consecutively. Remember, Amazon is one of the biggest supply chain companies here in the United States. You know, you think UPS, FedEx, et cetera, but when it comes to actually moving goods to your door, they compete in a whole different market segment, right? You're talking about, you know, they're competing with grocery stores and every product supplier that's within the United States. And when they start to scale back, that's also another indicator that our economy is changing, okay? And then, of course, we've got the whole July thing, talking about putting us on a digital currency platform. That's coming pretty quickly, too. So all of these indicators would say that we're definitely headed into a pretty heavy-duty recession, if not beyond that. And then, of course, you've got other indicators about potential unrest with the first time ever in our history a former U.S. president or president, period, has been arrested. Remember that even as bad as Nixon was, Ford actually pardoned Nixon as soon as he came into office, which, you know, it's just the corruption just never ends, does it? So anyway, okay, listen, that's going to do it. Again, keep that powder dry, stay frosty, and we will see you on the other side. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeyworksus.com.